The sky was dark, covered with thick gray clouds. The wind moved through the broken buildings, carrying the smell of smoke and fear. Fires burned in the distance, and the sound of explosions echoed through the empty streets. A young alien child stood near the ruins of what was once a school. Her small hands held a torn piece of cloth. Her eyes searched the sky, waiting for someone to come, but no one came. Her name was Kyle. She belonged to the Zalari, a peaceful and intelligent alien race. They were known across the galaxy for their kindness, for their knowledge, and for their help in healing others. The Zalari never started wars. They always believed in peace and unity. They had friends across many planets, at least they thought. They did. When the war started, the Zalari asked their allies for help. Messages were sent to nearby systems, to the Trade Federation, to the Silver Alliance, and even to the far colonies of the Orion Belt. The answers were all the same. Silence. Some didn't respond. Others simply said they were too far, too weak, or too busy. One by one, everyone turned their backs on the Zalari. The enemy was powerful. They were known only as the Vorak. No one knew where they came from, only that they destroyed everything in their path. They didn't speak. They didn't take prisoners. They simply came and took. Their ships were dark like shadows. Their weapons burned through steel and skin alike. The Vorak came for the Zalari without warning, and when they arrived, no one stood with the Zalari. Not a single friend, not one. Kyle's father had once told her stories of the great alliances. He said, "We are never alone. We live in a connected galaxy. Help always comes." But now their cities were burning. Their leaders had fallen. Their people were running into caves, into forests, into deep bunkers, hiding from death. A hidden underground control room, the remaining council members argued. Their faces showed fear, not leadership. "We must surrender," one said. "We must escape," said another. But there was nowhere to go. The enemy was everywhere. Food was low. Hope was lower. Then something strange happened. A signal came. Through the old deep space scanners. It was broken, distorted, but real. The language was different, strong, direct, not one they used. One of the engineers cleaned up the signal. The voice was clear now. "This is the United Earth Fleet. We received your distress call. We're coming." The room went silent. No one moved. For a long moment, they simply stared at the screen. Someone whispered, "Humans?" One council member laughed without joy. "That's not possible. Humans disappeared from galactic space years ago. They don't involve themselves in wars. They don't help others. They're unpredictable." Another council member shook his head. "No, I heard stories, old stories, about a human ship saving an entire mining colony from pirates, about humans who gave food to starving refugees during the plague wars. But why would they help us?" someone asked. The old engineer, the one who found the signal, looked at them all. "Maybe because no one else did. They sent a message back, coordinates, a confirmation." Then they waited. Outside, the wind grew stronger. More Vorak ships appeared in the skies above. The ground shook with the sound of their march. Civilians ran underground. Weapons were loaded, though everyone knew they wouldn't be enough. The Zalari had science, not war. They had hearts, not armies. Kyle hid with her mother in a shelter beneath their broken home. She asked, "Is someone coming?" Her mother held her close and said nothing. Hours passed. The Vorak forces surrounded the capital. From the top of the mountain, their dark ships stood like shadows blocking the stars. It felt like the end. Then, the sky changed. At first, it was just a sound, a low hum, then a flash of blue light. One ship broke through the clouds, then another, and another, dozens, hundreds. Metal birds shaped like arrows flew faster than sound. They shined with silver and gold. They flew straight toward the Vorak, human ships. The humans had arrived. From the ground, the Zalari watched in silence. For the first time in weeks, they saw something new in each other's eyes, something lost for too long. It was not just surprise, not just confusion. It was hope. Inside the shelter, Kale opened her eyes wide. She looked at her mother, who was smiling with tears. "Who are they?" the child asked. Her mother whispered, "Humans." And above, in the sky filled with fire and smoke, the battle began. The sky was still filled with smoke. Fires burned across the hills, but the sounds had changed. It was no longer just the cries of the weak or the marching of the Vorak. Now there was thunder from the sky, but it was not from the weather. It was from engines, human engines. Zalari children peeked out from broken windows, old ones raised, their heads from shelters. Everyone looked toward the stars where the humans had arrived. The Vorak ships, so big and terrifying before, were now running, dodging, spinning, trying to escape. The human fleet moved with sharp precision. They fought like they had done this 1,000 times before. Fast, cold, fearless. Inside the Zalari council chamber, the leaders sat in silence, watching the sky on a large screen. One of them, Saral, spoke slowly. "I thought humans were myths, stories told to scare or inspire." Another whispered, "No, they are real and they are powerful." But not all were convinced. "They are too powerful," said Councillor Vren. "Why are they really here? What do they want?" That was the question on everyone's mind. Why had the humans come when no one else did? What did they gain by saving the Zalari? Years ago, the humans had left galactic politics. They stopped talking to other species. Some said they went back to their home planet, Earth, and built walls around their space. Others said they had been destroyed. No one really knew. Now, they were here. Later that day, a single human ship landed near the capital. The Zalari soldiers were nervous. Their weapons shook in their hands. They stood in front of the old landing pad, ready for anything. The ship opened. Heavy steam hissed out. Then human soldiers stepped down. They wore black and silver armor. Their faces were hidden behind helmets with glowing blue eyes. They didn't speak at first. They just looked around. Calm. Focused. Then, one of them stepped forward. His armor was marked with a red stripe and an eagle symbol. He slowly removed. His helmet, he was tall, his skin was scarred. His eyes were tired but sharp. "I am Commander Raynor of the United Earth Fleet," he said. "We heard your call. We are here to help." The Zalari commander stepped forward. He was shaking. "Why? Why now? Why us?" Commander Raynor looked at him for a moment, then answered, "Because no one else did." Those 5 words spread like fire through the city. People repeated them, from markets to bunkers, from children to elders, because no one else did. Still, many were not sure. Were the humans heroes, or something else? Old stories returned to the minds of many. A human captain once destroyed an entire pirate fleet with just 5 ships. Another human unit held off an invasion for 3 days, saving millions, then vanished. Some said humans were kind, others called them dangerous. Kyle, the young alien girl, stood on the roof of her home. She watched as human engineers brought power back to the streetlights. Human medics gave food and water to tired Zalari. One of them noticed her and waved. She waved back. In the nearby hospital, a human doctor worked side by side with Zalari healers. He didn't speak much, just moved quickly, saving lives. Later, Kale asked her mother, "Are they our friends now?" Her mother looked outside and said, "I don't know, Kale, but they didn't run. That means something." Meanwhile, deep underground in the Vorak, worship the enemy leaders growled in frustration. A dark voice spoke in their cold language. The humans were not expected. Another hissed, "Then we must change the plan, destroy the city, kill them all, Zalari and humans both." The screen showed human ships in orbit, scanning and blocking every attack. The voice paused. "We underestimated them again." As night fell, the Zalari watched the stars, wondering who these humans truly were. Not gods, not monsters. Something else. Something dangerous. Something powerful. And as the humans raised their flag beside the Zalari crest, one thing became clear to all. The war was far from over, but now the Zalari were no longer alone. The humans were here. Their ships flew across the sky like metal birds, silent but powerful. On the ground they moved quickly, checking buildings, helping the injured, guarding the streets. But still, they spoke little. To the Zalari, the humans, were strange. Their faces showed little emotion. Their voices were short and sharp. They looked at everything as if scanning, measuring, calculating. At first, the Zalari stayed back. They watched from windows and doorways. Parents held their children close. Soldiers kept their weapons ready. No one knew what the humans really wanted. Then something happened. A young human soldier, not much older than Kyle, found an injured Zalari child trapped under rubble. The building had collapsed days ago. No one had dared go near it. It was unstable. The human walked straight in. His commander shouted, "It's too dangerous," but he didn't stop. With bare hands, he lifted the heavy stone, pulled the child out and carried her to safety. The crowd watched in silence. When the human placed the child gently on the ground, he took off his helmet. His face was covered in sweat and dirt. He looked at the girl and smiled. She reached out, touching his face softly. "You're warm," she said. He laughed a little. "Yeah, I guess I am." From that moment, everything began to change. In the Kai, days that followed, humans worked side by side with the Zalari. They didn't take command. They didn't give orders. They helped. They built shelters from metal and canvas. They brought food, strange but good. They gave clean water. One human medic even gave her own blood to save a Zalari elder. Still, many on the Zalari Council were uneasy. Councillor Vren stood before the others. "We do not understand them. We do not know their goals. Why would a powerful race help a dying one like ours? What is the cost?" Councillor Saral answered. "Maybe there is no cost. Maybe this is who they are." But the fear remained. Inside the human base, Commander Raynor stood in front of a glowing screen, speaking to his officers. "The Vorak are gathering again. They're not finished." "Should we evacuate the Zalari?" one officer asked. "No," Raynor said. "We hold the ground. We don't run, not again." Another officer hesitated. "They still don't trust us, sir." "They will," Raynor said, "when they see what we do next." That night, alarms screamed across the city. Vorak forces had returned. Dozens of black ships landed outside the capital. Their ground troops, tall and armored like machines, marched toward the main gates. Zalari soldiers panicked. Some froze. Others ran. Then they heard it, the low, rising hum of human dropships. From the sky, human troops descended. And this time, the Zalari watched something they had never seen before. Humans fought like lightning, fast, silent, brutal. They didn't wait for orders. They moved in teams, covering each other, protecting Zalari civilians as they pushed the Vorak back. Explosions shook the ground. Blue fire lit up the night. A group of Vorak soldiers broke through the wall. A young Zalari family screamed as they ran for cover. Before the Vorak could reach them, 3 humans appeared from the shadows. One threw a smoke grenade. Another took down 2 Vorak with precise shots. The third, the same young soldier who had saved the child before, stood in front of the family like a shield. "No one gets through," he said. When the battle was over, the sun rose slowly behind a burned city, but the people were still standing. Zalari children brought water to the human medics. A soldier patted one on the head and gave her a small metal star from his armor. Kyle stood beside her mother and whispered, "They don't fight for glory." Her mother nodded. "No, they fight to protect." Later that evening, the council called a public meeting. Everyone came, young and old, wounded and strong. Commander Raynor stood before them. "You want to know who we are?" he said. "We are not angels. We are not monsters. We are not perfect. But we are human. And when we see someone alone, someone who's been left behind, we don't walk away." He looked at the crowd. "Maybe you don't trust us yet. That's okay. But we are not leaving." The Zalari leader stepped forward. Slowly, carefully, he raised the Zalari banner and placed it beside the Earth flag. The people cheered. Above, human ships circled the sky, and for the first time in a long time, the Zalari knew they had a future. Because the humans had not come to take, they had come to stand beside them. The sky was quiet. Too quiet. Zalari soldiers stood at the outer walls of the capital, watching the hills. There was no wind, no birds, no sound. But everyone knew what was coming. The Vorak had returned, with full force. Far across the land, black ships lined the horizon like a wall of death. Their engines rumbled like thunder. Thousands of soldiers marched below, weapons ready. This was not a raid. This was an invasion. In the command center, the Zalari Council stood with the human officers. A large 3D map showed the enemy's movement. Red lights everywhere. Commander Rayner looked at the map calmly. "We hold the front line," he said. "We push them back. Together." Counselor Vren frowned. "You still believe we can stop them?" Rayner didn't look away. "No, I know we can," Soral nodded. "Then we stand with you." The battlefield, sunrise as the sun rose behind the mountains. Zalari and human forces lined up together for the first time. Zalari energy rifles hummed softly. Human railguns clicked and charged. Some Zalari looked nervous, a few still unsure. But when a young Zalari soldier dropped her ammo clip, a human beside her picked it up, handed it back, and nodded. No words, just trust. The Vorak attacked like a wave. Their weapons screamed through the sky. Explosions tore through the front lines. Zalari shields lit up blue as they tried to hold. But the humans didn't hide. They ran forward, straight into the chaos. A squad of human marines led the first charge, cutting through the enemy lines with perfect aim and brutal speed. Zalari soldiers watched in shock as the humans fought like fire. Fast, fearless, unstoppable. Then something changed. The Zalari joined in. They stopped hiding. They followed. For the first time, they didn't fight alone. Kale watched from the hilltop shelter with her mother. She saw human medics carry injured soldiers, both human and Zalari, without hesitation. "They protect everyone," her mother whispered. The turning point deep in the valley. A massive Vorak tank crushed through the rocks, heading straight for the medical camp. Panic spread. Civilians screamed. Then one human soldier, Sergeant Elias, ran toward the tank, carrying only a small explosive pack. He dodged fire. He jumped across rubble. Wounded, bleeding. But he kept going. He climbed the tank, set the charge, and looked at the sky. Then everything went white. The explosion shook the hills. The tank was gone. Sergeant Elias was gone. Silence followed. Kale cried, "Why did he do that?" Her mother answered quietly, "Because that's what they do." After hours of fighting, the Vorak retreated. Smoke filled the air. Bodies lay still. But the city stood. The Zalari stood, and beside them, the humans. Aftermath. The council held a quiet gathering. They read the names of the fallen, human and Zalari. Commander Rayner placed Sergeant Elias's helmet at the center of the table. Soral spoke softly. "He didn't have to die for us," Rayner replied. "He didn't die for you. He died for all of us." The room fell silent. Outside, Zalari children placed flowers near the human tents. Soldiers, tired and bruised, sat together. No longer alien, just allies. Kale placed a flower by Elias's helmet. She didn't cry this time. She smiled. Because now she knew they would never be alone again. The city was quiet again, not because there was peace, but because everyone was thinking. The first battle had been won, but many Zalari were asking the same question. Why did the humans help us? Some said they were saviors, others said they were hiding something. Even the children whispered in the streets. What do they really want? In the council chambers, the discussion had turned serious. Counselor Vren stood at the center. They came out of nowhere. They brought weapons, ships, soldiers. They saved us, yes, but this kind of power never comes for free. Soral shook his head. They haven't asked for anything. No land, no resources, no control. Vren's eyes narrowed. Not yet. The room fell silent. Then Soral asked the question everyone feared. What if we ask them directly? Later that evening, Commander Rayner was called into the chamber. He stood calmly, hands behind his back. in his Black Earth Fleet uniform. Vren looked at him without smiling. You saved our people. You fought beside us. You gave your lives. And we are thankful. Raynor nodded. We don't need thanks, just unity. Vren stepped forward. Then tell us, why are you really here? Raynor didn't flinch. You sent a signal. You were dying. No one else came. We did. That's not an answer, Vren said. Raynor looked around the room, then spoke slowly. A long time ago. We humans trusted the galaxy. We joined councils. We made allies. And then, he paused. They left us when we needed them most. Soral whispered, You were abandoned too. Raynor nodded. So we left. We closed our doors for years. Then why return now? Vreen asked. Raynor's voice became quiet. Because we saw ourselves in you. A peaceful race. Surrounded. Betrayed. Forgotten. We couldn't ignore it. He looked straight at them. We didn't come for power. We came because we remember what it feels like to be left behind. Outside the chamber, Kale walked with her mother through the rebuilt streets. They passed human soldiers helping rebuild walls, repairing water systems, planting food. Kale turned to her mother. They don't act like heroes, her mother smiled. Real heroes never do. That night, a small ceremony was held in the city square. Zalari musicians played soft songs. Children danced in the light of fire lanterns. Humans sat nearby, some eating strange fruit, others smiling quietly, no helmets, no armor. Just people. Commander Raynor stood beside Soral. We never expected to be welcome again, he said. Soral replied. Sometimes pain brings people closer than peace ever could. But far above, in the deep black of space, a new threat was moving. In a hidden Vorak ship, a voice hissed, The humans are interfering. Another replied, Then we make them regret it. A shadowy figure stepped forward. Prepare the weapon. Back on the planet, Kale looked up at the stars. They came when no one else did, she whispered. And somewhere, deep in the Earth ship orbiting above, a human captain watched the stars too. His face serious. He knew something the others didn't. The real war hadn't even started yet. The nights were cold now. Not from weather, but from doubt. For weeks, the Zalari and humans had worked together. Cities were being rebuilt. Food was growing again. Children laughed in the streets. But far away, from the light, something had changed. In space, Earthship Valor floated in orbit, a silent guardian. Inside, alarms were flashing. Commander Raynor stood over a console, staring at a signal on the screen. A deep, pulsing sound. Faint, ancient, but familiar. His second-in-command, Lieutenant Mira, looked worried. It's not Vorak. Not Zalari. This signal is human. Raynor's eyes narrowed. That's impossible. Mira zoomed in on the data. It's coming from the surface, from deep underground, below the old ruins, where the Vorak first attacked. Back on the planet, Kale noticed something strange. The human engineers were quiet that day, focused, distracted. She followed one of them to an old power station, damaged, abandoned. He went inside and sealed the door behind him. She listened through. A broken wall. A human voice spoke in a low tone. Signal is live. Phase 1 complete, preparing for recovery. Kyle's heart pounded. What recovery? What signal? She ran back to the city. In the council chamber, a new problem had arrived. Soral read the report. Aloud. A hidden beacon has been found below the ruins. It is very old, and it was built by humans. The room fell silent. Vren stepped forward, voice sharp. You see? They didn't come to help. They came to finish something they started. But, we don't know that, Soral replied. Then let's ask them. Commander Raynor arrived moments later, calm but serious. Vren held up a hollow screen showing the signal. Explain this. Raynor stared at it. I don't know what that is. Vren didn't believe him. It's a human signal, buried under our soil. Active now after your arrival. That can't be a coincidence. Raynor stepped forward. We never planted that beacon. But if it's human, someone did, and we need to find out why. Deep under the ruins, a joint human Zalari team entered the ancient tunnels. Old walls burned and cracked. Symbols from another time, forgotten tech. Then they found it. A black pod, pulsing with energy, human-made, but ancient. The markings said, one word. Echo. Mira scanned the surface. Her face went pale. This isn't a weapon, she said. It's a recorder. Soral stepped forward. Recorder of what? Mira looked at Raynor, voice shaking. Of what happened the last time. We were here. The pod activated, a voice played. Project Echo, Human Expedition 12, year 2461. We offered peace, we were betrayed. The council turned on us. We had to leave and bury everything. This beacon will remember the truth. The recording ended. Soral looked at Raynor. This isn't your voice. Raynor nodded. No, but it's from my people. Vreen stepped forward. So the humans were here before and we betrayed you. Soral whispered. It wasn't us. It was our ancestors. Raynor looked down at the pod. Now I understand why Earth shut its doors, why we left the galaxy. It wasn't just politics, Mira added softly. It was heartbreak. Later that night, Kale found Raynor alone near the old beacon. Was it true? She asked. You were betrayed before? Raynor nodded. Yes, we offered friendship and it cost us lives. Why did you come back then? He looked at the stars. Because pain doesn't mean we stop caring. We came back because we still believe some things are worth saving. But far across the stars, in the shadows of the Vorak fleet, something stirred. A dark figure watched the signal from the planet. It smiled. So, they found the echo. Let them remember. Let the old wounds open again. A new ship powered up. Behind it, massive, deadly, ancient. Soon they'll tear each other apart, and when they do, we will end them both. The sky was no longer silent. Vorak warships blocked out the stars. They had returned in full strength, and they had brought something new. A massive battleship. Ancient, covered in scars and dark weapons. It was called the Harvester. And it was. Not here to conquer. It was here to erase. Inside the Zalari Council chamber, the leaders gathered for the final time. Soral stood with Commander Raynor. We're outnumbered. Outgunned, Soral said. Raynor nodded. We know. Counselor Vren looked around. So what do we do? Raynor's voice was calm. We make our stand. Right here. Together. Preparation begins across the planet. Humans and Zalari worked as one. Children were evacuated to mountain bunkers. Shields were raised. Weapons charged. Every fighter, Zalari and human, took their position. Kyle helped pass supplies to soldiers. She looked up at the sky and whispered, Please don't leave. A human soldier nearby answered softly, We never will. The Harvester arrives. The Vorak gave no warning. They attacked at dawn. The first blast destroyed the east shield. Zalari fighters took to the sky. Human dropships fired from the clouds. The entire planet became a battlefield. But still, the humans stood firm. Raynor led the front line. Mira flew a combat jet through enemy fire. Zalari warriors followed. Earth Marines into impossible fights, and survived. They weren't just allies now, they were family. Inside the Harvester, Soral and Raynor made a bold move. They launched a secret mission to board the enemy ship. A small team entered the Harvester, through a breach in its armor. Inside, they found the truth. The Vorak weren't just conquering planets. They were harvesting energy from civilizations that trusted them. Raynor stared at the glowing core. They feed off betrayal. Soral replied, Then let's give them something they don't expect. The final plan, Mira's voice echoed across comms. We've found a weakness. The Harvester's core is exposed, but we need to hit it from inside and outside. At the same time. Who's going in? Someone asked. Raynor said, I am. Soral stepped forward. Not alone. Kale's voice suddenly came through the comms. You're not alone at all. The people of the city, Zalari civilians, engineers, medics, stood ready with tools, supplies, courage. Human soldiers looked at them, surprised, but they smiled. This was no longer Earth's fight. This was everyone's. The final battle, the sky turned red. The Harvester unleashed its full power. A shockwave tore across the ground, but from the mountains came missiles. From the city, towers fired. From orbit, Earth's last fleet arrived. Ships once hidden, now unleashed. Raynor and Soral reached the core together. They planted the final charge. The Harvester AI hissed, "You cannot stop us." "You are weak, divided," Raynor whispered. "Not anymore." Boom! A blinding explosion tore through the ship. The Harvester shook. The skies cleared. The enemy fell back. And then, silence. The Harvester was gone. Aftermath days passed. Wounded were healed. Ruins were rebuilt. But something had changed forever. Raynor stood before the united people of both worlds. "You trusted us. Even when you were afraid, you stood with us. Even when you had every reason not to, that's what makes you strong." Soral stepped forward. "The humans came when no one else did. And they stayed." Kyle placed the Earth and Zalari flags side by side on the city wall. A child asked her, "Will they leave now?" She smiled. "No, they're part of us now." Final message, years later. A voice plays across the stars. Kyle, now older, speaks into a recorder. "Once we were abandoned. Then the humans arrived. They didn't come to rule, they came to remind us of something we forgot. That even in the darkest times, someone will stand by your side. Not because they have to, but because it's right. This is not just a story of war. This is a story of hope, of unity, of humanity." The end.